Feedback: why most writing group notes will ruin your book. You've been working on your book for a year. You finally trust someone enough to let them read it. They come back with 17 pages of notes. And when you implement every single one of them, the book is worse. This happens more than you'd think. Not because the feedback was given with bad intentions, but because most writers don't know how to use feedback, and most feedback givers don't know how to give it in a way that actually helps. Today we're going to change that. Welcome back to the Story Forge. Today we're talking about one of the most important and most misunderstood skills in writing: how to get feedback that actually improves your book, and how to know which notes to take and which ones to leave on the floor. Let's get into it. First, let's talk about why feedback so often makes books worse instead of better. There are 3 types of feedback that sound helpful and aren't. Type 1. Prescriptive feedback. You should add a scene where Marcus confronts his father. The ending should be happier. I think chapter 4 needs more action. This is the most common kind of feedback you'll get from non-writers and from writing groups that haven't been trained in craft. The person is telling you what to do, giving you their solution to a problem they perceived. The issue is that they may be diagnosing a real problem but prescribing the wrong solution. When a reader says, "I think you should add a scene where Marcus confronts his father," what they're actually telling you is that something in the father-son relationship felt unresolved to them. That is the diagnosis. But adding that specific scene may not be the right solution or the right place or even the right story move at all. Take the diagnosis. Leave the prescription. Type 2. Personal preference feedback. I don't usually like books written in first person. This isn't really my genre. I prefer faster, paced stories. This feedback tells you about the reader's taste, not about your book. It is not useless. It tells you this reader may not be the right reader for this work. But it should never change your manuscript. Learn to recognize the difference between "this isn't working" and "this isn't for me." Type 3. Contradictory feedback. You give your book to 5 readers. One says the pacing is too slow. One says the pacing feels rushed. One says the protagonist is too passive. One says the protagonist is too aggressive. One says the dialogue sounds stilted. One says the dialogue sounds completely natural. Now what? Here is the rule: when multiple readers identify the same problem, take note. When they offer different solutions to the same problem, ignore the solutions and trust your instincts. When readers contradict each other completely, especially on subjective elements, you are probably fine. You can't please every reader. You shouldn't try. Good feedback is diagnostic, not prescriptive. It tells you what the reader experienced, not what you should do about it. The best feedback you can receive sounds like this: I felt confused about Marcus's motivation in chapter 6. I wasn't sure what he wanted. Not, you should rewrite chapter 6. I lost interest somewhere around chapter 8 and I am not sure why. Not, chapter 8 is too slow. You need more conflict. I didn't believe that Sarah would make that choice at the end. It felt out of character to me. Not, change the ending. See the difference? The first version in each pair tells you what the reader experienced. That is information you can work with. The second version tells you what to do, and that bypasses your own judgment as the author entirely. When you are seeking feedback, train your readers to give you the first kind. Tell them explicitly. Don't tell me what to fix. Tell me what you experienced. How? Where were you confused? Where were you bored? Where did you stop believing? That is what I need. And when you are giving feedback to other writers, hold yourself to the same standard. Your job is not to rewrite their book in your head. Your job is to report your experience as a reader as accurately as possible. Not all feedback givers are equal. Here is how to build a feedback circle that actually serves your work. Your ideal reader, someone who loves books in your genre, reads widely, and has the vocabulary to describe their reading experience. This person doesn't have to be a writer. Some of the best manuscript feedback I've ever heard came from readers who had never written a word because they knew exactly what it felt like when something wasn't working. The developmental perspective, someone who understands story structure and can see the manuscript architecturally, not just as a reading experience, but as a constructed object. This is a craft reader. Usually a writer, sometimes an editor. They can tell you not just that something isn't working, but roughly where in the structure the problem originates, who to avoid. People who love you too much to be honest. People who will rewrite your book as a different book entirely. People who give feedback to demonstrate their own intelligence rather than to serve your work. And this is important people who are writing the same kind of book you are and may unconsciously steer you toward their choices instead of yours. One trusted craft reader who gives you honest diagnostic feedback is worth 10 people who tell you it is amazing and give you nothing to work with. Here is your exercise. Take a scene you've already written and share it with one person, with specific instructions. Tell them, read this scene and tell me 3 things you experienced as a reader. Where were you confused? Where did you feel something? Where did your attention drift? Don't tell me what to change. Just tell me what happened to you while you were reading. Then sit with what they tell you. Don't defend, don't explain. Don't say, well, that gets explained in chapter 3. Just listen. Separate responses into 2 columns. Things multiple readers have flagged, and things only one person mentioned. Prioritize the first column. Hold the second column loosely. Then make your own decisions. You are the author. The feedback is data. The choices are yours. Feedback is one of the most powerful tools a writer has and one of the most dangerous when used without a filter. The writers who get better from feedback are the ones who know what they're looking for. They take the diagnosis and leave the prescription. They listen without defending, and they make their own decisions in the end. That is the whole skill. Next week, we're talking about something nobody in the writing world talks about enough: how to actually finish what you start, and why most unfinished manuscripts die in the exact same place for the exact same reason. I'll see you then.